What's happening, everybody? This is Todd Wilson with Elevate Your Game. Today, we got the OG NBA Master Trainer, CEO, founder, all around good father, husband, mentor to me, Mr. Chris Johnson.
Yes, sir. Happy to be. Man, I just realized that this is a backboard.
We hooping here, man. This is what we do.
I like it.
This is what we do. Welcome to the show. We just talk hoop, culture, and getting better, elevating your game. I know that's what you're all about. First thing we do when you come onto the show is we look at the wall of basketball movies, hoop movies. Yeah. What's your favorite of all time and why?
So when I was looking at the wall, it took me back to a couple of movies like Above the Rim, but my favorite movie that I watched, and this is the reason why it's favorite, because I watched it like every day for a year straight, had it on VHS, was Hoop Dreams. And, I love storytelling, but I also like to see how people overcome adversity. And that Hoop Dream movie was set up with real cameras. It was raw. This was like before we do now we do these personal blogs and we follow it, reality TV. That was reality. And I was just so intrigued about the obstacles of someone having to get on a couple of buses and trains and to go to school, and how, he's looking at his life and his life is saying to fail. And, he overcame that, even with injuries, and it showed how his brother was a great player. And so the storytelling of adversity, and then it shows the other guy, I can't even think of his name, how he chose a different route. And, going through public schools and how his father and mom relationship. So that's why Hoop Dreams is my favorite movie on the wall. Yeah. Is because of the storytelling and how they overcame adversity.
Absolutely, it was relatable. It was documentary style. It's real, like you said, it's reality TV today.
Yes,
and people following lives. And that was before a Baller's Life or
before
YouTube or anything. We could see something like that. Like you said, you have VHS.
I had VHS.
You just aged yourself.
VHS, VHS, baby, and that was good because it just showed what the basketball could do with a dream. And no matter what we do, whether it's basketball or anything in life, if you have a dream, you're going to have to overcome the obstacles to be able to fulfill that dream.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, NBA Master Trainer, you've been training for over 20 years now.
Yeah, coaching, training, teaching, 20 years.
Awesome. So you've done it on every level. High school, you played in college.
Yep.
Coached high school, college, G League, NBA. Developed something.
I was a GA too. So so finishing playing college basketball, I was headed overseas. And in the process of the transition of taking a job over there, I actually ruptured my Achilles. And I know why now, what happened. I used to work out in strength shoes, but the strength shoes was not the reason why. It was because I overdid it. I was a hard worker. Yep. And so really I just blew a bad tire. And this was in the process of, I already signed my contract. Everything was done, and boom, it went out. And from there, I didn't waste no time. I thought about it. I talked to my college coaches. I talked to my mom, and I was like, hey, this injury says 18 to 2 years. And at that time, in the 2000s, like early, this was like 2000, 2001. So like at that time, like your career is literally over. So for me, I didn't hang on to the hoop dream. I transferred it into the coaching dream. Yeah. And that I became a GA. So I was a GA in a boot, getting my master's degree and coaching in college. That was my first coaching job.
Wow. That's awesome. I never knew the details of that story. I knew it was something like that. That's amazing how, and I talk about it often to these kids, that we never know when our basketball career is going to end. Yeah. How we transition into that next piece. Keeping basketball a piece of it is extremely important.
You said the key word though, Todd. Like the one thing that I've learned in life is transition, right? But you only can transition when you learn how to max out. So even with me being a college basketball player, I was 3-time defense player of the year. I led the conference in assists. I felt like I was a really good basketball player, but I did graduate. I
Mm-hmm.
did all 4 years. I was a good person. I was in the church. My mom, they had me do some things, but everything in life is a pivot or it's a transition piece. So for the people that are listening, for the young folks, basketball is a great vehicle to take you to different places, and it's going to give you the big three. It's going to give you access, resources, and it give you time. And so those three things are very important in that pivoting. And so I was able to pivot because I gave everything to the game. And then all I did was switch and say, this is how I want to be a part of the game. And we'll see where this goes until my next pivot. And so each level was a different pivot. And basketball has taken me to where I am today.
That's awesome. I always say, because I'm sure you had dreams of being in the NBA at
Oh,
some
of
point in your
course.
career, but almost because of those decisions you made and that foundation that you set, but that your family set first and that you carried out through what they taught you, you were able to be in the NBA. Like you
Yeah.
said, you've sat courtside, you've trained the greatest
Oh,
players in the
yeah. I
world.
coached in the
You have
NBA.
access to the same thing that NBA players have to an
Right.
extent
Right.
because of how you transitioned and those
Yeah.
decisions you made. So
When
you made it to the league.
well, when I look back at it, I really now even think, because like I grew up with like guys that did make it, and then I realized now that it's a 1% job. I don't even know if I was good enough.
Mm.
I felt like it, but in reality, yeah, I would have made a lot of money playing basketball, and actually, I would have began my career that I'm in now later.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to take advantage and push past where everybody's at, because I know people that played up until a couple of years ago and they have to transition.
Yep. They started where you started 20 years ago.
So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be able to transition early enough to be able to take less pay,
Yeah.
to be able to learn from so many different people and start a new career and be able to take that. So that's how it goes. So now I look back, guys, I ain't gonna lie to you. That's why you never hear me talk about my basketball career, because I always believe you're only as good as you are today.
Hmm.
So you never hear me much, but if you go like in my house, like I was really successful, but that was a long time ago.
Right.
So it's like, how good can I be today?
No, that's great advice for us all. Inside of sports, outside of sports, is because we have a fresh start when we wake up in the morning. Thank God, and be able to be our best self. That's man, that's the gospel. That's good. I love it.
Yeah,
That's the gospel.
be who you are. And I think young people, they don't understand that they don't have to be where they're supposed to be.
Man, preach it.
But you have to give yourself your very best. And when you do that you can pivot at any time in life, because now you've built a formula of maxing out. So we don't know who you're going to become. We don't know where you're going to be. I don't even know who I'm becoming. What I mean is by that is that I'm going to pivot. I'm going to pivot out of basketball. I'm going to pivot into business. I'm going to pivot into counseling, developing people. Basketball is just a vehicle, just helping me get closer to where I want to go. Absolutely. So I don't know. So just be okay with change.
That's awesome. So you've been developing forever. You've worked with top players in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Been right by your side doing this some for the last 5 years or so. You have a son though, who is in high school right now, developing. What have you learned from all those players that you developed at such a high level, and what you instilled into your son to reach his full potential as a basketball player?
Wow. So number one, I realized that he needed to be coached by other people outside of me. And what I mean by that is,
dads shouldn't always coach their kids?
It's up to them. The reason why is because when I looked at the end goal, I realized that the possibility of me actually coaching him in the NBA is like zero. And the possibility of me being his college coach could be 50-50, depending on if I would have stayed in that race. And then I realized that most people get their biggest influence from people outside of their household. So it's my job as his father to put him around people that I feel like can have a great influence on him. And so, and then whatever his goal is, to put that people around him to be able to help him. And I think, and I can ask him, but I think it's going well because he's developing. Now, when he was younger, having a skill set is just one component of being a good basketball player. And so what I've been able to do as his father and being able to take this information that I've learned from all these great players and give to him is to get him a skill set. So if he wants to participate at a high level, he can have a high level skill set.
Right.
The other four components is emotional intelligence. So that's him understanding that being able to stay consistent here versus going so high or dropping so low. And now we're on this emotional roller coaster, which makes basketball not fun.
Right.
Right. And number three is spiritual. Like we want to raise our kid to have spirituality and to understand that it's a higher being than him. It's someone that God we can look to and that is more purpose in life. And the fourth is physical. And then the fifth is IQ. So those are the components that I look at, like, does he have so that he can have these ingredients to become the best player that he can. But my advice for dads is be a dad. And, you know, you can help with the skill set or you hire someone that can help him develop a skill set, but a skill set doesn't make you tough.
Mm.
The skill set doesn't
What
make you
does
tough.
make you tough?
Doing tough things.
So allowing them to go through some
Allows
adversity
them
and
to fail.
controversy.
There you go.
Allow them to fail. You can't come and save them every time.
I can.
How many NBA players have you seen that really did not face adversity, get to the league, and it was their first time hitting adversity, and have that moment of choosing success or failure and how they responded to it?
I mean, T, to be honest with you, like, it's too many to even count. And to be honest with you, on the other side of it, 75 to 80% of them did not make it when they hit adversity. They got drafted in a lottery position. Adversity happened. Somebody told them no. Someone said that they wasn't good enough, or someone asked them to be in a role that they didn't want to be in, when the NBA is all about being a star in your role. Right. And so most people, if you didn't know, there's only 1% of the NBA that has a guy that's a superstar. And a superstar normally will have the basketball about 5 to 7 seconds. A role player will have the basketball from 4 to 0. So that's the difference between being a superstar and a role player, is just a couple of seconds. And so when you're training, for all the trainers out there, just me giving experience and advice, when you're training, try to develop a player to be able to play with 4 to 5 seconds or less, because it will carry them to the next level, and move forward. Because at some point, a coach at a higher level is going to demand them to move the ball, or they're going to ask them to operate quicker. And the first thing that players say is, man, he take away from my game. Man, I don't get to play my game.
I just posted about that.
But really, it's not that it's your game. There's only 16 seconds in the NBA to operate once you cross half court. It's 8 seconds to get across half court, which on a 24-second shot clock leaves you 16 seconds. So our training programs is developed from when you're young all the way to take you through your professional and college career, even though the college shot clock is 35 seconds. So that means you're still going to move the ball a little bit more, and eventually you're going to get to that 16 where you got to score. But when you're training, for you trainers out there or guys that are coaching and developing players, look at the end result and work backwards so that the kids can get to their peak performance. So development is not about me. It's about, can I get that player to peak performance? And that's what I try to put in place for my son. So my advice to fathers is, be a father first. You know, try to build a resourceful community around the kid and have access. So having access can put him in different rooms. That doesn't mean he's going to be the number one player of his class. That doesn't even mean that he won't play at the highest level. We don't know what happens when it's time to happen. You just got to wake up every day and you got to win the day.
Gotta win the day.
You got to win the day.
Love it. And then for those people out there, Chris Johnson has Just Hoop. This is he's the founder, CEO. It's not just a brand and gear. It is a whole development system you can access online. And it's more than just basketball.
Oh, absolutely.
He has training equipment. He has the new mental mindset with Just Win. We're talking about mental health performance and everything. We'll hop into that a little later, but go to justhoop.com. You have access to a trainer who's been doing it for 20 years at the highest level, but has also developed kids from the ground up that have made it to the NBA, the system. And so you don't have to go and look anywhere when you have access. The investment is very minimal for the information that you get. And I know that from being with other trainers as a developer myself. I've been with other pro trainers and I've learned from them all. But when I understood the Just Hoop system and training, the trajectory of the guys that we trained and girls that we trained in core prep or privately shot up, their potential, their development, their understanding of the game shoots through the roof. And that's why we have some of the top middle schoolers in the country, in the world almost, because his system. Before that, hey, we were doing well. Kids were getting better, but now they know how to play the game and step in right away.
I think, Todd, what you said about systems, this is good advice also for coaches, trainers, and people that are developing young people. Have a system in place. So a lot of times it's not about what you're doing, it's how you do it. And I think the detail of that is very important. So like when I was developing a system of basketball, I realized that systems allow for me to measure and for the person that is being developed in a system to measure if they're accomplishing and knocking off certain goals. When you random develop, every time you show up to the court, there's something different, something new, you really can never meet your potential. Doing things over and over again is routine, but routine builds habits. Habits build who you become. You have good habits, you got bad habits. Through your routine is how you correct your habits. So build a system that corrects those bad habits and turn them into good habits through consistent work. You want to do that every day. So versus you coming in and teaching someone everything that you know, how about you sit down and you focus on one thing for that month and watch how fast they improve. And then you add a piece to it. Then you add a layer. And so our system is meant for every level. So the same way I would work with the best player in the NBA would be the same way I would work with a kid that don't know how to play basketball. I would be in the system so he could work with me his entire life and still never have mastered the complete system.
Yeah, I remember that when the first time we trained LeBron, and like, oh no, he's doing the same thing that we've done with the rookies from that year. And I'm like, what? That's LeBron. But you don't skip steps. You start from the base and you build up from there. Now that some kids progress faster through that system because of their IQ and all that, or some pros progress faster through that system. You can always advance it and progress it up. But that always amazed me, and it's a story I tell these kids who think they made it in 8th grade because they're the top ranked 8th graders. Like, nah, I'm showing you stuff LeBron James did. Don't tell me anything about what you're learning because basketball don't change.
You know, one thing that I've learned even from working with the best, and I think, you know, I know LeBron is the best player to play the game, best player by far, right? But not only with him, it's a whole bunch of legendary Hall of Fame people and players. But it's one thing that really stood out. As me being a developer, I always assume they know nothing. Always assume they know nothing because the greatest people on earth is trying to steal information. And if you assume that he knows something, that was your opportunity to actually teach him something that he may not know. That's how 1%ers get better. So when I go into something, I always have a system, a base in place that I can go to that allows me to build around the base. And so I'm going to assume that I didn't teach you properly or someone did not expose you to it. So every year when players come back to me, we start over. Now, depending on their level of skill set, their level of IQ, and their hunger, they may start over for 3 days in the base of building, and then we can jump where we need to go. Or we may need to stay right here.
We saw this recently with one of the pre-draft kids. There was something that was off, and instead of moving along and progressing, he had to stay in that place to get that one skill right. But once he got it, it was like, oh,
because it's mastery.
Yeah.
Once you master something, your brain, it registers it like a computer. But if you don't give the student an opportunity to master it, you actually take away from them storing that data. And then we ask for the athlete to recall information or to execute under pressure in a game situation. This is for parents. Parents, don't expect for your son or daughter to go get trained and develop and go into Saturday's game being able to do a particular move or to execute something. It takes hours, it takes reps, it takes studying. So my expectation, even with my son, is we worked on parts of his game that he would never even use in the game. So we went like 5 years of never working on mid-range. Yeah, we worked on finishing, we worked on catching and shooting. Because in the little leagues, for him to be super successful, he just got to catch and shoot it, dribble up and shoot it, or get all the way to the rim. Floaters, hook shots. So we left, when I introduced him to shooting mid-range, he was in the 7th grade. And we was laughing. I was like, and don't expect to make one. Like, we're just going to work on it. So give your kids an opportunity, a playground to be free. And when they're going to work and they're going to work on the game outside, or you paying your money for someone to develop them, that will happen at his own pace. Just because you're working on it don't mean that it's supposed to happen right away.
Right. It takes years of mastery. It's the 10,000 hours. It's the repetition. Whatever profession you're in, if you're a doctor, an attorney, a businessman, you didn't learn right away. You didn't, I read a book, I know exactly what
it don't work like you have that
trial and error in time. And with time, we just get better as long as we're dedicated to the things that are.
That's so important. I think that will keep the headaches of parents down.
So what does that stress feel like? I don't know if you've ever felt it, because I think that's an emotion that parents naturally feel because we want our kids to succeed.
Right.
And we do see them putting the work and the time in. How do you manage that emotion as a parent?
Well, that's a good question. Being a high school coach, I was coach of the year like 8 years consecutive in a row. And I realized right away, no matter how much success as I had as a coach, I always had a parent or a parent issue. Every issue comes down to one thing, and it's universal, and it goes from the pros down to little league. You know the number one issue in all sports?
Playing time.
Okay. So when I realized that, it doesn't matter how many accolades you have, no matter if I'm producing 5 Division I players a year, there's always going to be a complaint. So you have to strategically plan to handle these complaints. And so as a parent, I can go back to my stories and I say, wow, that parent had really false expectations. And they actually took away from the experience of the kid. Like I had some kids, literally basketball became something they hated. Or a sport became something they hated because the parent was in the way, keeping them from failing. Oh, you're not getting playing time? I'm going to meet with the coach. Versus saying, hey, did you meet with the coach?
Right.
Because I'm not at practice with you. So what keeps me in check is that when I talk to my son or daughter, have you talked to coach about your role? how's your practice habits? The way you practice is the way you're going to play. So if you go through a whole practice and you've only taken 6 shots in a 2-hour practice and a game is fast forward 90 minutes, I can't expect for you to average 15 points a game when you're not even averaging 10 points in practice. So when I see their performance, because I don't go to his practices, when I show up to the performance, his performance actually tells me what he does every day.
Right. Right.
So there's no confusion. So if he's not happy, what you're happy about? Well, what are you doing in practice? Because people adjust to who you want to become. But if you're not that person every day, when you do something outside of what you do every day, that's when the coach pull you down. Yeah. Hey, what are you doing? You ain't shoot that in practice. You shoot that. Even the players be looking around like, yeah, what was that? They've never seen you do it. Yeah. But if you did it, no one would say anything because that's what you do every day.
They usually get excited because like, oh,
he did exactly what he does.
We know he about to make that. They stand up for the 3.
Everybody knows this. So that is how, as a parent myself, I disconnect. Now you want to see your kid have the best, but I check myself. When I'm by myself or I'm praying and quiet, I'm like, yo, that's his journey. Stop trying to dictate the outcome of her journey. Just be a part of it and get out the way. And if he don't want to work as hard for it, that's on him. And so I talk to my kids about that. And what I do tell them is I'm living the life that I want to live. I have dreams, I have ambitions for myself. So I think the biggest example that I can set for my kids is by me being a dreamer, by me working on my body, by me eating the right foods, by me showing up every day and being consistent with myself.
Being an example.
I think that's going to have more of an impact on what they become, what they decide to do with their lives. And that's what we talk about.
Man, that's awesome. You recently released JUS WIN in 10 minutes. What's the full title? 10 minutes.
So the first ebook series is called 10 Minutes to Win. And the reason why I wanted to write ebooks versus writing a book is because I looked at our 2023 of how technology is, social media is, and how can I get people to actually connect? They don't have all day. We don't have, like, you got kids, you own a business, you own a company, you got responsibilities, your mentors. I mean, like, we only have 10 minutes to really improve our life quality. And so I was like, how do I create something for people under stress, under pressure, that they can be resourceful for in 10 minutes? So what I try to do is eliminate any extra verbiage. I try to eliminate like just reading just to read. I gave a roadmap. And in each book, there's a different roadmap that helps you win your day. So win to me is what is important now. That's how you win. So 10 minutes to win is giving yourself 10 minutes to focus on what is important now, today. So I'm not worried about tomorrow. I'm not worried about what happened yesterday. I just got to win today. And that's winning in relationships, with the way you treat people, and all of that. So our ebook series that we released is actually doing really well. You can go to justhoop.com to get it. It's on Kindle, Amazon is out there, and we're releasing them one at a time. And so we have all 10 complete, and with each ebook, we have a complete podcast. And the only way you get access to the podcast is by buying the ebook, because the podcast is attached to the ebook. Right. And so in the ebook, we wanted to give a regimented assessment to assess your mental performances, because people under pressure deal with the mental. Everything in life is mental. No matter what you do, it's going to be 90-10. 90% mental, 10% physical. And so when I started looking at that, I was like, that applies to athletes. It applies to business people, CEOs, anyone that's operating under pressure. We need to be able to give them the necessary tools. And so that's what was the whole purpose of putting together 10 Minutes to Win, is to provide you with tools that you can operate with every day. And it's you versus you. So it's everything has to do with you and not with what someone else has to do with you.
Man, usually conflict happens because there's something you're insecure about in yourself, or you don't understand with yourself, and you project it onto other people.
Yes.
And so we develop ourselves.
Yes.
Then we will help develop other people.
Yes.
And the people who get on your nerves will get out of your way.
Yes.
Because you either will be on a higher level thinking and understand where they belong in your life, or they're going to come with you and continue to grow with you.
That's how you win. And I think we've created a vocabulary system that people can snap back to. A lot of the resources that I took from was over the 20-year journey. I got my master's when I said was a GA. I got my master's in counseling 20 years ago because this was my ultimate way of life, is developing people. Basketball is just something that allows me to connect with people, but my ultimate training and teaching is teaching people how to live life, how to maybe build a routine, how to get rid of old habits, so when people say, hey, you're a great trainer, I kind of laugh because really I'm whatever they need me to be. I'm a rabbi, teacher, I'm a counselor, I'm a coach. Everyone needs a coach. Even I need a coach. I'm a mentor. So basketball is just something that is a connecting piece. It's important because it's fun for the culture, but it allows for me to connect with people to actually pour into their life first.
Yep.
And, it's not about Instagram likes for me. I was doing this way before social media. I think social media is a great platform to get information out on. And I think it's a great way to take advantage to get into the living rooms of other people quicker. However, if you treat people properly, you become very resourceful. You have to love people. Yeah. And you do it without expectation, and you do it without asking for something back. You just give. And the more you give, the more resourceful you will become. And that's what 10 Minutes to Win is about. So we're pulling resources from all of these top people that we've worked with over the years. I've learned something from each person. I learned from you. I've learned from every person. And I say, wow, what's the formula to help people win this?
Yeah, mental battle.
Yeah, because when you go back and look at all those superstar athletes that you had in core, I already know why you even call core. Like when you think about the core piece of like you had a bigger vision and to give into these kids that need something. And basketball is just a connector.
100%.
That's what makes your program different than any program in the world. And you can see it in your life, the way you treat your wife, the way you treat your own kids. And that's why success will always be with you. So people out there, if you want to be successful, be an asset to the people that are in your life and work with people that are parallel to you. I know a lot of people want to work with people that are in vertical. Mm-hmm. When you're trying to reach up to someone in vertical, you may not be on the same wave and they may be reaching for something different. But if you work with someone parallel, you can actually lift each other up to go to another place. So just look right next to you. If you want to get better, work with people that are right next to you that have the same desire, the same hunger, the same vision, and then you pour into them and you pour into him and you work together and watch how you guys elevate. Yeah. Most people want to work with people on a vertical.
I've seen that in our last 5 years where in the basketball world, I was working in a vertical, but I was looking at what you was doing and what I was doing. I was like, these are different. Let me figure out what he's doing. And you were gracious enough to lend a hand down and pull me up because I believe you saw the the mental side of
Oh,
I
for
wanted to
sure.
learn. I
Yeah.
was like, hey, whatever you need. I started off just rebounding,
Humble.
and just ready to work in the gym. And from there, the journey that we've been on to
Yeah,
reaching
it's
our success or
amazing.
reaching
Yeah.
our purpose has been, in our own journeys in line. And we're here today.
I think you said it though, and I think this should be highlighted. It's a difference between a hand out and a hand up.
Mm.
There's a difference between a hand out and a hand up. A hand up is earn. A hand up is someone preparing themselves to elevate. A hand out is you expecting someone to do something for you that you're not ready for.
Mm.
So I always ask that because I'm always willing to give. If you are at the top or you're in a elite position, your job is to give back, to help other people become better than you. But you can't give it to someone that's looking for a hand out because they don't maximize it. But someone that's hungry, like you are hungry, you're like, hey, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. You had a plan. So just as forming a friendship and a business relationship, you're going to level up because look at the people that you're around. They think like you. We're positive. We've never had an argument. We've never had a disagreement.
Never.
We work through situations. We work through obstacles, and you work through them, but it's because you're thinking the same way I think. It's very difficult. So I need people to understand that. And that should be highlighted in the show. He didn't need a hand out. He wanted a hand up. Mm. And it takes certain people to say, hey, come on up here.
Yep. Because
you were prepared and you were ready.
Yeah.
That's it. That
gives me some revelation for things that are happening in my life today. There's something a specific situation that's very clear now. Just us talking about it. And I've known this, right?
Right.
I mean, we talk about it all the time, but that just gave me clarity. And I think that's the revelation you're talking about.
Yes.
What the 1%ers look for is like, even though I've heard that a million times, right now, boom, it just clicked. And so thank you for sharing that.
Because you're a hard worker.
And even with that, just seeing who's been in the gym with you over the years, it hasn't just been NBA players.
No.
It is people from every walk of life, but all on the same level. And I've seen you invest into them. And they have to train like when you step on a
you gotta
court,
go.
you gotta train like you're an NBA player. It ain't no games. Ball head. But also you've learned from them and have connected with them and what they're doing every step of the way.
Because I become a part of everyone's community. So like I'm a part of your community. Like every player that comes in, my job is not I don't have ownership over them. So what that means is when they're with me, my job is to give them my very best. And when people are going on their journey, they're going to encounter other trainers or coaches. They're going to encounter people that become very prominent in their life. Is what did I do in their life that make me stand out? And so I realized that I can't go on everybody's journeys. I've touched thousands of people. Like even in the Final Four right now, I'm looking at both rosters and I'm like,
right.
I got 12 guys in this. In the East, I got 12 still playing. In the West, I got 12 still playing, 14. And I'm like, that's 24 players that still playing. I can't be in 24 different places.
Right.
Now I can communicate through text message and phone calls and I could be there. But I want to be a part of their community that they build, their journey that they can build, and I want to help them reach their maximum earning potential. I don't have to ride their coat to get there because I have a gift that has made room for me every year to pour into someone different. And for the players that I work with over the years, you guys know the type of love that I have for you and the relationship that we built. And some may skip a summer and may not come train at Just Hoop. They may say, hey, I want to stay back home. But they always come back.
And you send them equipment when they want to go train somewhere else.
Oh, that's what Just Hoop is about.
Yeah. We send people equipment like, he's going to be here.
He's going to be
summer.
here.
Hey, make sure they get their pop-ups, balls, basketballs,
everything
all
that they need, and I will develop the person that they're working with.
Yep.
So that's something that's important to me. I will reach out, and whatever that person that is going to be working with the person that is the most important is going to work with, my job is to make sure he has all the resources, or she has the resources. So that's, I pull from people, I learn, I wake up every day to learn. I wake up every day to be a better person. I think, you know, if we can put people first, you can achieve anything in the world. You don't have to steal, you don't have to overcharge, you don't have to, I mean, it's a lot of things that you don't have to do. You don't even have to like be anyone else but yourself. And your gift will make room for you if you put the time in to become the best person that you can become.
Man, Jesus said it best. Love God, love people. And I always tell people this. I tell these kids this because it's tougher to understand for them with the immature mindset, social media, all these other influences. That super simple. Love God, love people. Now we are made in the reflection of God.
Yeah.
So we love God because He created us, and we honor Him, and we have the fear of who God is, the loving fear. But we're also made in His reflection, so He wants us to love ourselves first,
right,
and then love people.
Love people.
If we fill ourselves up with the love and the vision that God has for us, that we're the head, not the tail. We're,
that's important,
things.
Man. That's great. But
then we love others,
right,
like Jesus loved others sacrificially, and we're fulfilled. We don't worry about how do I get this, how do I get that. There's purpose in just loving someone. So,
and you deal with a lot of guys that are in, I call a pivotal transition from 6th grade to 8th grade. So important to have a community of people like Core that shares the same value, same belief, and are on the same path, right? And the one thing that the youth and younger people that are in high school, maybe even college, you're gonna understand is, you hear this word all the time, is be coachable. Being coachable, let's talk about that.
Yes.
What is being coachable? Being coachable is being open to receive new information. Being coachable is also learning to see how you fit within that new information.
Say it again. Say it again.
because people confuse being coachable.
Yeah.
Being coachable is being open to receive new information. And being coachable is being able to see how you fit within that information. Then you can go to the next phase of it, which is application. How do you apply yourself? So if you're with the coach and the coach is drawing up this play, look at the entire play. Then figure out what other people are doing and then what you're supposed to do. And you can master his system and still be who you are. Because no one is changing who you are. A lot of players run into that when they're young. Like, man, coach, we just running this motion offense. Or we just really running this motion offense. Or did you not open your brain up to figure out how you're supposed to be fitted into that?
Yeah.
The most people run into most athletes run into playing time as an issue and fitting in a system, like being coached.
Yep.
And so these are things that you can actually control. If you want more playing time, do the things that are necessary to get more playing time. That starts with your practice habits, your development habits when nobody's watching, your training habits away from the court or away from, like, that's running hills and putting in the time, and then being coachable.
The attitude side of it.
Right. The third part of that for the middle school guys, y'all listen, is body language.
Talk to them.
Okay. Body language speaks louder than your words. Someone say something to you, you roll off, you roll instead of standing and looking them in the eye. And whether you disagree or agree or not, you have to take the information in first. Then you can formulate your opinion. Body language Happens in the court. You miss a shot, right? That shot that you miss was that big of an impact on the game. Very small. So Just Win is built to teach you to overcome those moments and have next play speed. If you want to be successful, have next play speed. How fast can I get to the next play? How fast can I correct myself? Because failure is not missing or making shots. Failure is not turning the ball over. Failure is not having a defensive breakdown. Failure is having bad body language, sitting on the bench moping.
The response
It's
to the thing that you're.
So that's Just Win. Choose every day. We get to choose our response. So I want to teach you how to choose your response. Those are 3 key elements that I looked at when they're dealing with middle schoolers, high schoolers. It's time, playing time, body language, being coachable, and then transitioning. So you got a big job. Core Prep has a big job.
Yeah,
They're helping kids choose their high school, how they transition, and then do they stay successful after leaving the nest.
Right. And setting that foundation. Ooh, yes. And a lot of it, we plant seeds. And our hope and prayer is that when we send them on to high school, the coach continues to grow it. Their parents, we do a lot of parent education.
There you go.
Extremely important to understanding how this game actually works. And
right.
Not what everyone is telling them.
Right.
And then we want to, this is where it's important for the coaches and player developers, trainers, to understand something like Just Win. So they get
it can really
side.
help.
Not just the basketball.
It's
skills.
not basketball.
It's easy. We can teach anybody how to dribble, shoot. That's easy, but it's these other intangible things that send a player to that next level. To go to college now, because everyone has access to the same skills development.
Yes.
It is about
the mental side. And that's what Just Win is about. And I would suggest that you guys go out and pick up that first ebook, and we'll be releasing them other ones slowly. The second chapter in How to Win in 10 Minutes is about taking a mental timeout. So, mental timeouts are very important, because if you look at your life as a battery charge on your iPhone warns you when the battery gets to yellow. It tells you, hey, we need to charge. We're at 20% or low. When you get to 10%, it starts to go red. And everybody's looking, you got a charger? You got a charger? I got to get your, why you need a charger? I'm about to die. But that's how we treat our life. We don't recharge, or we don't address anything until we're about to die.
So the battery's on red.
The battery, that's where everybody responds, when it's on red. So what volume 2 of How to Win in 10 Minutes of taking a mental time out is teaching you how not to reach that area. How to position yourself early on to say, Todd, I need a 30-second timeout. In the middle of a conversation, I need 30 seconds. I need 1 minute. Why do you think they have those built into the game? If not, the game would just go and nobody. No, like something happens and my team needs a second to recruit from that. It's the same way you respond to your mental mindset. You may sit in your car for 5 minutes and practice what we call the MVP: meditation, visualization, and positive self-talk. MVP could be 5 minutes or it could be 20 minutes. Just being able to meditate doesn't mean, it means silence and working on your breathing. Visualizing yourself. You can see yourself doing things of success, and you can see yourself doing things of failure. And then positive self-talk. Whenever you find somebody say, I can do it, keep going. You normally find people, you're correcting young youth people saying, man, God, I can't do this. Man. So positive self-talk is very important, and that's something that we came up with MVP. But volume 2 is about mental time out, and we've created some assessments that allow you to assess yourself for you to figure out when your battery needs to be charged before it gets too red. And if you can get there and you learn how to manage your mental timeouts, you will be successful in every part of your life. Knowing when to take a timeout in relationships, in sports, in the classroom. I just need 1 minute. Like, what? I need a minute. I got to take a timeout. You breathe, you work on yourself, then you come right back to it and you're ready. So it's okay for you to take mental breaks. And some people may need a whole day. So we break down 24 hours or 8 hours, 3 days, and so even recharging from basketball. There's a moment for you young people, because you go from season into like AAU or summer ball, you need to have a moment of transition of what does that mental timeout look like. Yeah. So when people say, hey, you're going to burn them out, nobody burns out of anything in life. But the mentality will burn out. So if you can just win that part of that and transition, you actually set up the necessary systems and tools for your life. And that's what sports is about.
Man. So successful people have mastered how to navigate and the tools they need to have the mental capacity to handle everything they can handle. That's why you have people who can do 1 million tasks in one day and do it every day on rhythm and not take breaks versus somebody who's burning out because their mental capacity is not strong enough to handle that whatever's next.
So it doesn't mean that the person that you're seeing have success don't have the same obstacles.
They just know how to manage them.
They got a system in place. Whether they can acknowledge your system or not, there's something in place to help them overcome obstacles. Because we're positioned with them every day. So you have a skill set and a system with it. Now, if you can pull it out and learn, like, oh, I've mastered this, I mastered that. Now you can pass that system on. That's what I created. So I'm a system guy. And from the system, you can create your own system. Right. So the ebook series that we're first releasing is helping you create a system to win the mental battle. And once you create the system, if you didn't know you had a system, my job is to give you a base. Then you go and create your own system.
All right, so our next segment of the show, we're going to hop into my Rushmore, okay? It's going to be Chris's top 4 current high IQ players in the NBA today. Yeah. Who's your 4? Let's do this.
So my Mount Rushmore for the top IQ players, and that's a skill set that is only measured by opinion. So you'll know this is my opinion, because you can't measure it. It's not in the scorebook. It's not in the 3-point percentages. It's not in the record book. But in order for you to win, you have to have people with the highest IQ on your team. Period. And this has nothing to do with position.
Okay. Regardless of position.
So I should start with does it have to be in chronicle order?
No, it's your top 4, period, no order. You can put order to it if you want to, but there is no order. Just
I won't give it an order. But right off the back, Jokic from Denver, center. I study him. I watch him play. I've never trained him. I would love to be in the gym with him because I feel like I could do so many things with him. But he would be a joy to coach. I think that coach has really showcased his coaching ability by tapping into this guy's IQ. His IQ is very high from an offensive standpoint because he can pass, he can score, he can catch and shoot, he can manipulate. He's not very fast. He's not very vertically inclined. So why is he the 2-time MVP with the number 1 team in the West? Is because of his brain. Yep. He could play multiple positions. I just seen the other day, they came out of an ATO, which is after timeout. situations called ATO, and they ran a pick and roll lob to AG with him running a point.
Yep, his ball handler.
And I was like, you can't do that, everyone, not because they don't have the tools, because they don't have the IQ. So Jokic just won. Okay. Number 2, we'll go right to the Lakers. Mr. LeBron James, King James himself. His basketball IQ has to be the highest, if not the highest, of any player that have played the game. And the reason why I say that is a lot of people that look like him. There's a lot of people that's his height, his size, his explosiveness, but they don't see the game. I've trained them. I was like, hey, this. They don't see it, but he sees it. He can play any position on the court. He can play the 1, he can play the 5. He could be the pick and roll guy. He could be the guy coming off the roll guy. He could be the low man on defense and control the whole defense, or he could be that guy still in that 2 pass away still. He can coach you in the huddle. He knows who's a shooter.
Yep.
He knows who's a driver, who's a post-up guy. And when I look at that IQ of saying he knows where other people on the court should be, what they should be doing, how they should be doing it, and he knows where he's supposed to be, what he's doing, and how they're supposed to be doing it, and he can make other people better.
Yep.
That is a high IQ. You can see it in the flow of the game. When AD haven't got his touches, you can see, I don't know what coach called a play, because I ain't on the sideline, you can see Bron come out and say, it needs to go to the big fella. He understands that.
Yep.
Or he understands when to. Those are things that you can't put, there's no like stat for that.
Right, no analytics for
there's no analytic.
Yeah.
And that's what has separated him in the point of being able to win at a very, very high level. My third one, Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Steph Curry is 6'2", not the fastest, it goes back to how he sees the game. He plays with the basketball, he plays without the basketball. He can guard multiple people. People will say he's not a great defender, but he knows how to position his body properly. He understands how to verbally communicate. He's always talking. He can do anything. He knows when to shoot. Mm-hmm. He knows when to drive. He knows when to make the right pass. You can see that he understands every part of the game. And he's a different size than Jokic and Bron. Right. He's a smaller player. And so he's able to think through the game as a chess game. And I think what makes him a great shooter, and Steph, you can come on this show and we can talk about this. My opinion, and I'm just doing some studies over the last 7 to 8 years, I think one of the reasons why Steph is the best shooter the game has ever seen is because of his golfing regimen in the summer. My opinion, Steph, holla at your boy, hit me up.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it, but every guy that I've developed that is an avid golfer is an amazing shooter. Every guy.
I'm gonna put some research on that. I like that.
I
believe it.
So I've been studying the correlation between golf and basketball, because golf, when it comes to putting and to hitting, it requires the brain to tap into what I would consider the same thing when it comes to shooting. That's why everybody's not a shooter in basketball. But it's something that has to do with his golf regimen in the summer. Maybe because he plays twice a day. It's something outside of basketball that allowed him to tap in here to separate him.
I like that. It's mental.
Something's mental.
Some type of connection there. Okay, Curry.
And my fourth, Jimmy Butler. And the reason why I say Jimmy could take any team and learn how to win.
Mm.
Yeah. He's an ultimate winner. He's not, even it goes back, he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest. They don't have to dunk. But Jimmy is a domino player. He is a card player. He can look at his hand and look at how to win with what he has. Most people look at their hand and they say, we don't have enough. He looking at his hand and saying, how can I figure out to get the most out of what we have? That's IQ.
Yeah.
That is ultimate IQ. He has defensive IQ that separates him. He understands when to help, when to be in position to charge, when to block your shot, when to get in the passing lanes, how to zone up. So as a coach coaching him, you could do a lot because he can quarterback the whole team and eliminate a lot of mistakes. On offense, he has a skill set to be able to score 50 in a game, but he also understands the importance of each piece on the puzzle.
Right.
I think that goes back to the way he plays dominoes, the way he plays cards. And so when he looks at the game of basketball, it's like chess. It's like moving different pieces around. And so when you put him in that, for Miami to be where they are now is not because of his ability to score, but his ability to maximize the hand that he's dealt. That's separation. So those are my 4 players that are playing currently, and 3 are still in the playoffs.
They are. Yep.
High IQ players.
Yeah. So I agree with 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with 3. Jokic, you can just see it, like you said, the non-athletic, high IQ play and the production that he gets at every level with his game.
Right.
Bron, just because what he sees before anyone sees it, and what I find most impressive about him is his recollection of what happened before. And I don't think it just goes back to the game he just played.
No.
I think he has this catalog of every game that he's ever played and he's ever watched and can recall exactly what happened. The passion and love for the game is just there. Curry, everything you spoke about, interesting, the connection between the golf and the shooting, but also his ability to read the defense in 0.01 seconds. It does not, as soon as he sees how you're playing him, he knows how to come off of whatever screen, and he knows he may not touch the ball for 3 more passes. He knows those little things, and those are the things I try to teach. Like, watch Curry and Clay and how they read. Now, my 4th, all respect to Jimmy Butler, 100% see all of those things. I'm torn between 2, and it's Drew Holiday and Draymond Green.
Yeah, oh yeah, those 2 guys.
And this is their defensive presence. And if I have to choose and put the 4th person in there, I'm going to have to go Draymond.
I know you're going to go Draymond.
The ability on defense to quarterback it. He's just, I've never seen, it looks like offense when he's out there. He looks like he's the point guard on defense and how to read who to guard, how to guard, constant communication.
Because he guards 1 through 5.
It don't matter. And he knows how to yell at people to do what they're supposed to do. Right. I believe Curry's a better defender because he has Draymond. He's had Draymond his whole career. And at one point, Draymond was like, yo, Curry, hey, because there was a point where Curry had to work on his hips to get him loose to be laterally quicker and to, the IQ he understood. But I believe Draymond elevated that, talking about latching on to somebody and bringing them up. I think they've helped each other offensively, defensively. And then on offense, Draymond's ability to get the 2 people that everybody's trying to stop open shots anytime he wants to, almost. And they've created, that get action is, it's like Draymond's thing. I believe the Warriors truly have taken that concept and then made 2 players unguardable.
Because of Dre.
Yeah. Because of his ability to read a play at his size. He's only 6'7", barely 6'7", 6'8", but plays big and can handle the rock and make decisions like a guard.
Absolutely.
So
That's a
gonna
tough
run
one.
up
Yeah,
on
he's
top
right
four,
there.
but
Yeah,
that's